Hello. So today I want to talk about how to take data, perhaps already in like a data visualization. If not, I guess the first step would be taking data and putting it into a data visualization. But once you have that, how do I take that and and build a story around it? Okay, because that's what an infographic is all about: is taking data and making a story out of it, right? And presenting it, right, with your introduction, main event, and conclusion. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so incorporating data into a story. So let's say you have some data, right? So let's say you have something like there are 7.5 billion people in the world. Okay, so first of all, like I said, making a data visualization, how would you show this? With like a chart? Bar chart? Seems kind of boring. What about like actually showing like little icons of people? Okay, so I don't know, maybe you have like one person representing 1 million, and then you can kind of paste like a 7,500 of those little tiny people onto Inkscape or Illustrator or something like that. Each person representing 1 million people, and then 7,500 of those would be like the world population. Maybe you want to make like a little picture of the Earth, right? So a picture of the Earth, and then take all those 7,500 people and kind of like stick them on top of the Earth, and you can kind of see how many people are on there. So that's an example of first building a visualization. Okay. Because otherwise, just saying like 7.5 billion, like people, you have to give it some context, right? Remember, in one of the units in the book, we talked about why infographics are effective. It's because you take information and you put it into a context, right? And if you want to show how that's a lot of people, maybe your picture of the Earth, you would have it very filled up with all those 7,500 people, right? If you want to say that that's very little, maybe you want to make the picture of the Earth really, really big, and all those 7,500 people are just in one part of the Earth, right? That would show how it's less populated. Maybe I'll just show you really quickly with just some drawing here. So for example, let's say this represents the Earth, right? And if you said that the population of the population was something like this, right? Let's make that a different color, like orange. Right? If you made it like that, and you said that square represented 7.5 billion people, it would seem, okay, it's taking up the entire Earth. But if you actually made that and you said that's 7.5 million people, it would seem like, okay, the Earth's not crowded at all, right? There's a lot of space. So that's what I mean by context, okay? So being able to do that kind of gives the people a sense of your story, the story that you're telling, that the Earth is overcrowded or the Earth is not crowded or whatever you're trying to say. Okay, so context. Okay. So yeah, you want to convince your people that that is in fact a lot of people. So just taking all those little people icons, just sticking them in a corner of your Earth picture isn't going to do it, right? So how are you going to convince people that is a lot? How are you going to show that visually? Okay, so how about this? Okay, so I was walking along the street, I don't know, around the Tiber or something like that, and I was in a park and I saw 30 cigarette butts. Okay, what kind of story could you tell from that? Right? So this all depends upon you. What story do you choose to tell? Do you choose to tell a story that's a lot of cigarette butts, or do you want to choose to tell a story, I wish people wouldn't throw those cigarette butts? Do you want to tell a story, the government should take better measures in cleaning up the park. Okay, so what story do you want to tell? And based on the story you want to tell, you'll set up your infographic differently. Okay, first of all, starting off with an introduction. How are you going to introduce it? Right, maybe a really big title. Right, I hate going to the park, or enough cigarette butts, or you smokers suck, or whatever. Okay, so yeah, you just have to think of how you want to present it, and that's how you're going to build your infographic. And how are you going to get that information across? Right? How are you going to show those 30 cigarette butts? Okay, is your infographic going to show a picture of a park? Is it going to show, 1 kilometer somehow? Maybe you have a line showing 1 kilometer, and maybe you place 30 cigarette butts along that line. Okay, so how you choose to show that will tell your story. Okay. The important thing is to try to make people visualize. Like I said, you want to show 1 kilometer. Okay, so I draw a line, and that line represents 1 kilometer. And I place those 30 cigarette butts along that kilometer. Okay, and maybe that will show people, okay, I'm walking there, and it's kind of gross. Every time I walk, I see a cigarette butt. Maybe in your graphic, you're not just showing a line. Maybe you're also showing an icon of a person, maybe looking at the cigarette butts. Maybe you want to turn it into an animation where the person is actually walking along the line, right? And every so often along the line, he keeps seeing cigarette butts, right? So visualize, show, make that experience for the person, right? The person who's looking at your infographic should experience your story, okay? Now, this next one, I'm going to show you a visualization. This one's a little bit more current. And we're actually going to turn this into an exercise, an activity, okay, that I'd like you to respond to. Okay, the other two examples that I just showed you, I did put something on Moodle that you can just kind of sit and think about it for a while, just kind of reflect. Maybe think about some of the things I just said about how you would actually do it. This one I'd actually like you to respond to. Okay, so here's one showing coronavirus cases in the U.S. Okay, and this is a heat map or bubble chart. I guess it's not really a heat map. Heat map would just use different colors to indicate how much or how many cases. Here we have bubbles. The bigger the bubble, the more cases. Okay, so take a look at that and think about it. Okay, so think about the story you want to tell and what is missing to tell that story. Okay, so I'm not going to give you the answers this time, right? Or I'm not going to give you any of my opinions or examples, things like that. I want you to actually think about it and discuss and tell me what you think could be added to the infographic or included, right? How could I build around this, right? So this would be kind of like the main event, right? What are the things to build around in order to turn this into an infographic? Okay.